Forward here. All right, cool. Well, welcome to our first Softland Partners meeting in Boston. We're really tickled that you're all here. My sense is some additional folks will join us as we're going along. You may, and it looks like a lot of people have muted, which is great. That certainly will help our sound quality as we go. Our real goal today and with these meetings is to help you make good connections. And the two audiences that we're really looking to bridge or to help connect are the trade professionals, those people who work either for governments or for industry associations who are helping either US companies go overseas or helping international companies come into Boston and the Massachusetts area. And then with the folks who help provide services to international market entry companies. And again, either companies that are looking to go overseas from Massachusetts or looking to come into Massachusetts. And so at some point, and we're very much in beta, and we'd certainly love any comments, but at some point, there may be an integration of actual market entry companies into some of our meetups. And I think part of that, we're going to try to strike a balance between the network itself in terms of the service providers and the folks that are really facilitating market entry from a government or industry association standpoint, and those market entry companies. And so again, your advice, your counsel on that would be great. But our first goal is really to build this network and to help everybody get connected. So with that, I'd love to invite folks to introduce themselves, and I'm just going to kind of go through as much as I can, identify people on screen, and just ask you to do a 30-second introduction. So it's usually sort of name, company, and just maybe 20 seconds on what you do, and maybe what you do and who you serve, who are sort of what's an ideal customer look like. We can be a little bit liberal on time, but definitely not over a minute. So in any event, Joan, you were first on, or yeah, almost first on. Do you want to go first?
First unmuted. Yeah.
First unmuted, yeah, perfect.
So I'm Joan Popolo. I'm the executive director of an organization called Action Innovation Network. We're a nonprofit organization. Our business headquarters are in Fall River, Massachusetts, although we do work a lot of the time virtually or remotely. We are a network of technology business incubators throughout the New England region. And as we have 16 incubators in the network right now, I'm going to be a partner spotlight in a bit. So you'll hear a little bit more deeply about that, so I won't go into it now. But we do, through a federal grant that we received in 2018, have a pre-landing program, what we call a pre-landing program for international startups, to introduce them to the innovation ecosystem here in the Boston, Cambridge, and in greater Boston area, meaning coastal New England.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joan. Alice, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, so I'm Alice Sloan. I'm Director of Business Development at Wolf & Company, and Wolf & Company is the largest regional accounting firm in Massachusetts. We're actually throughout the Northeast. We have 4 offices, 2 in Massachusetts, 1 in New York, and 1 in New Jersey. And we focus on working with healthcare, tech, manufacturing, distribution and retail, investment advisors, private clients and financial institutions. And I actually have an economic development background. I used to run the inbound investment operation for the British government in Boston. And so one of the things that I spearhead at Wolf is working with international companies. So I'm kind of the go-to person there. If we have companies coming into the US, we're very interested in talking to them because typically they need tax advice and guidance, and they need to understand if they're going to fundraise, what they should put in place first before they go ahead and do that. But also we work with, companies that are expanding into other countries as well. And we have a network called Alineo Global that we're part of, that we can help companies connect to other firms in that network in other countries.
Fantastic. Actually, Matthew Clark from DIT was supposed to be on the called it in. He's one of the people that called in sick. So yeah, and
I know DIT because that's the office I started here.
yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I know Joy and Roxana pretty well. So yeah, they're great folks for sure. Jamie, do you want to go next?
Sure, yep. I'm gonna take myself off mute. My name's Jamie Neely. I work with a company that is called Velocity Global. I'm on our strategic partnerships team. Specifically, our company helps with introducing smaller companies into the international market by allowing them to hire and employ people that aren't originally from, obviously, the country that the company is headquartered in without setting up an entity. So we like to view ourselves as kind of that intermediary step where a country is able to employ someone, say in the UK, and see if they want to test kind of that market to understand its applicability to their business before they do decide to go down that investment hole of setting up operations and setting up the entity itself. So I work with foreign direct investment firms quite often around the world to help kind of the clients that they typically see have a different option towards an employment mechanism rather than set up an entity to start.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jamie. How about Jenny?
Hi, everyone. And hi, Alice. I think we've met before. My name's Jenny Norris. I'm with Meridian Finance Group, and we don't finance. We are a credit insurance broker. So what we do, I'll give you an example because it'll probably make it easier to understand. If there's a distributor, manufacturer, and they're selling their product on open account terms, they're all very nervous now about getting paid. So what we do is we insure the accounts receivable. We happen to be the largest credit insurance broker for the U.S. government, Exim Bank. So if products are made here in the United States and sold overseas, that's a phenomenal product. If it's domestic, we do it as well domestically, or if the product's non-US and you want to cover still international sales, we use all of the credit insurance underwriters out there. So companies like AIG that you've heard about before, but there's a whole host of others. So as you can imagine, our phones are busy now because clients that have the credit insurance are wondering are asking about the fact that their clients are going to be asking for additional terms, or they may be putting in claims now. And we've gotten a whole bunch of companies calling us out of the woodwork saying, can you cover some of our receivables now? So hot topic, unfortunately, but it's also one of those things where companies would have said maybe, a year ago or 6 months ago, I don't need it. It's fine. Everything's going well. And here we are. So we work with manufacturers, distributors, service providers, you name it. Anyone that's selling and providing terms to a client, we can cover that.
Cool.
Thank you.
And what's growing in the background?
Oh, loofah. I'm actually growing loofah plants. It's different. So I've got the regular peppers and tomatoes and stuff, but loofah, which is not grown in the ocean apparently. So we'll see if it.
Well, good luck. We'll need a report later on that.
Thank you.
Antonio, do you want to go next?
Sure. Well, greetings to all. My name's Antonio Pastor, and I am currently working as an independent consultant helping early stage HR tech companies either with entry into the United States or helping US based companies exit out into two regions that I have high degree of specialization is Latin America and Southern Europe. So when I speak of Southern Europe, I speak of Portugal, Spain, Italy. And just as, kind of an example, I just spent the last year helping a UK-based, a London-based company, Adepto, enter the US, and we were successful in positioning that company to have been acquired by a US-based company. So very interested in plugging into more people like myself and some of you who are in the same realm, and hopefully, we can network and find opportunities through that.
Good stuff. Thanks, Antonio.
Yeah.
And I see Sarah Delude. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Sorry, everyone, I don't have a working camera these days, but I'm glad to come to you by audio. So my name is Sarah Delude. I work for the City of Boston in the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. Specifically, I do international business work. And we tend to be the front-facing door for a lot of mostly, I would say, smaller, medium-sized companies looking to enter the Boston market or the US market via Boston. So we offer a lot of kind of network introductions. We do a lot of the municipal stuff like zoning, permitting, licensing, and everything in between. So site selection assistance, a little bit of communication support sometimes, but really we want to make sure that people are connected to the right folks, namely all of you on this call. So it's a pleasure to meet all of you. Sometimes their needs vary pretty wildly, from professional services to hiring to investment. So we try to help them navigate who's who in Boston, try to help them kind of localize quite a bit. The Boston market is pretty special and tight knit. So we want to make people feel at home as quickly as possible so that they're successful in Boston. We do a little bit of the outbound side, so helping Boston companies expand to international markets. I know there's a lot of great resources in the region for them, whether through the Mass Export Center or through a lot of the consulates, actually. I am also one of the UK consulate alumni. There seems to be legion of us. And there's a lot of diplomats here who work specifically in economic diplomacy. So we want to be tapping into a lot of those networks to help our Boston companies succeed internationally as well. But it's great to meet all of you, and looking forward to getting to know all of you.
Super. Thanks, Sarah. And how about Geoffrey from Imageworks? Oh,
hey, everybody. Geoffrey Cohen from Imageworks. We are a Connecticut-based digital marketing firm. Basically, yes, we can build websites, but then what? So we're the then what piece. We're big on online lead generation and inbound marketing and paid search and social media, and that big giant bucket of all the things that clients should do in order to generate qualified traffic that converts into leads.
Fantastic. Wow, that was concise. I love it. Joan Paul.
There we go. Well, first of all, thank you, Bill, for the invitation. Yeah. It's nice meeting you all. Geoffrey, I especially like your office, but that's
I'm seeing a similarity.
I wonder why.
Well, we're all contained in a decompression chamber, doing what we're supposed to do, I guess. So cures the bends of life, finds balance in the workday. I'm with a company. My name is Joan Popolo, JP Fandel. I'm working with a Boston-based company, which is a language service provider called Linguistic Systems, Inc. We've been in business for 52 years. My job there is to take our 20-year-old machine translation technology, find ways to marry it with human translation in order to develop customized, tailored solutions for companies that are meeting linguistic language barriers. Those barriers oftentimes, in my experience, I just moved back to the US after living 27 years in Europe, 24 years in Spain, 3 in Germany, fundamentally helping set up greenfield startup operations for US companies. So I came into it from a management standpoint, moved back to Boston for a couple of reasons, and one of which is to see just how I might be able to facilitate those eliminate those language barriers for companies ranging from startups, Series ABC, growth stage, right through to corporations and AmLaw 100 firms.
Perfect. Thanks so much, JP. Appreciate it. And how about Megan?
Hi guys, I'm Megan Pichette. I work for a company called TriNet. I specialize in working with startups in the greater New England area. So what my company does is we help manage the employee side of the house. So we'll help with everything from HR to health benefits to onboarding to offboarding and everything in between.
Fantastic. Thanks, Megan. And I see Steele DeVito's on. Do you want to go ahead, Steele?
Yeah. How's everyone doing? Bill, thanks for the invite. My name's Steele DeVito. I'm with T3 Advisors, and we are a global real estate firm that focuses primarily on helping growing businesses, whether you're a small startup all the way up through publicly traded companies like HubSpot and LinkedIn, with their local and national and global real estate requirements. So that could be opening your first office or lab manufacturing facility in the U.S. Could be expansion overseas. Could be anything. We have about 45 people here in the U.S. Offices headquartered in Boston, offices in New York, Palo Alto, and San Francisco. So we're really focused on working in those innovation hubs. We do a lot of work throughout the venture capital community. A lot of our work is helping companies go through periods of growth, and it could be getting your first co-working space set up. Could be your first office, as I mentioned, and we'd love to help any way I can. So looking forward to this program. Thanks, Bill.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Steele. Let's see, is there anyone that I missed? Okay, we'll assume everybody's good. If we did miss anybody, please hop in and interrupt me. Well, thank you all for the great introductions. You did perfect. And I want to maybe just give you a little bit of an overview of Softland Partners, so there's some context to our meeting. And our goal in Boston, and we're going to be actually opening up LA fairly shortly. We've got Hartford coming online. We've got London and probably Sao Paulo, Brazil fairly soon as well. And our goal really is to build out not only an online marketplace where market entry companies can connect to best fit resources, but also to build local networks that will help build relationships just like we're doing today. And one where versus online, where it's difficult sometimes to filter well for quality and best fit and so on. And those, it takes some time to sort of build up those mechanisms. Certainly in person as we get more familiar, and our goal is to move offline as quickly as possible. The goal of this meeting actually originally was to meet in person, and we're virtual because of Corona. Which I should say, if anyone does have a refreshment, you're more than welcome to bring it out. So I happen to have a Corona in the fridge, so that's what we have. But the real goal is to get together in person and to really build the connection to each other, the knowledge of each other. And my first business, just as a point of reference, was a networking organization. It was almost 20 years ago now. And what we saw was that, in fact, when I walk into a room full of people and ask, where do your best referrals come from? Like 95% of the hands go up for, they come from current or former clients. And, if let's assume that's the case, because in this room, because it is very normal to see that, networking then should be about building up a bullpen of resources, of reliable and credible resources. And we'll all have different people that we gravitate towards or that are best fit for our clients. But the real goal is to help each of us build that bullpen so that as an organization, we're able to help better assure the success of market entry companies, whatever market they're going into. And that's the fundamental goal of Softland Partners, is to, and kind of the true north that we're completely aimed at, which is the success of market entry companies through connection to best fit resources. And we came to this about 6 months ago as we were kind of assessing our current client base. And as it turns out, what we found as we were looking at our current clients is we found that 100% of them had come to us as damaged children. And this is something that as we were talking to other people, other service providers, other trade professionals, we heard, sort of our experience turned out not to be that unusual. We were talking to a lot of partners who, said, yeah, geez, a lot of our clients have come to us as damaged children too. And so the real goal is to help sort of minimize that bad experience that market entry companies have. They're what we're finding is in an incredibly vulnerable state, and sometimes they make bad decisions. They maybe don't understand the customs and so on, or sometimes they get connected to bad actors. And so the more we can sort of optimize their experience, optimize their success, that's what we're aligned to do. So certainly the goal here is just to give you a quick outline. So I'd like to next go to our member spotlights, and certainly if folks have more questions about us, I'm happy to take those offline, or maybe at the end we can talk more. But we have Steele DeVito, who's going to talk more about T3 Advisors. Steele, do you want to kind of give us, you have 7 minutes, and we control this a bit. I'll actually look at my watch and give you a 1 minute if you need it, Steele, but if you want to go ahead and give us your, sort of 7 minutes, and, just a good profile of who you're looking to connect to, what are best fits, maybe a case study, whatever fits well.
Yeah. Awesome. 7 minutes. I'll try not to bore you. I'm gonna look over to Allison to give me some guidance. Alice Sloan to give me some guidance on whether I should cut the messaging off. But hope you're all well. So I guess when I look at T3 as a whole, we've been in business for over 18 years, and certainly these are pressing times for a lot of people. And this company's been through several recessions, ups and downs, and I'd say that the reality of our business is that it always comes back to the relationship and helping people, whether it's in good times and in bad times. So right now we're having a lot of difficult conversations with companies that we're working with, whether it's the HubSpots of the world, or it's companies that just closed on Series A financing, trying to figure out ways to reduce their overall rent costs, right? So certainly we really act as a very entrepreneurial organization. I came from the world of Cushman & Wakefield, which is at this point 55,000 plus employees, and now I'm with a firm that's very, very nimble. We very much act like a SWAT team when we analyze different opportunities, and we all work together. But the bulk of my day, I want to say, is spent probably about a third with the entrepreneurial community. So it's founders of companies, it's CEOs of companies. A third is with people in operations, meaning CFOs, VPs of finance, COOs. And then the last bucket is venture capitalists and private equity investors. So we very much pride ourselves on, not only helping our colleagues and, venture capitalist portfolio companies with real estate obligations, but also just generally, right? Whether it's, a company is looking to fundraise, whether they need, someone who in the tax and audit world to refer them over to someone like Alice, and know that we have a trusted partner, and that is incredibly impactful for us. And we've also done a lot of work with internationally based companies coming here to the U.S. And we really realized that there's three, main pillars and maybe kind of challenges that these groups have to get over. And one is obviously the business side of it. It's understanding the market and understanding, where should I set up shop, but what does it really mean to operate here in the U.S.? So who do I need to get connected with, right? There's a lot of political components on the business side, right? So the second one's probably the politics of business, right? Who do I need to talk to, and who are the real people versus people just trying to get a quick commission out of you, right? And then the third thing is the personal side of it. A lot of people move here, and I'm just trying to speak as it relates to this group. There's people who are trying to move here and get their their families on track and their kids on track, and how can we introduce them to if they're going to live in Needham, they probably need a realtor, and how do they, which we don't do residential realty, but we'll introduce them to somebody, and how do we get them involved in their community, and so they feel like this is a much more comfortable or soft landing, as Bill would say, for many of these companies. So we really work hand in hand, with founders of businesses. We've helped companies grow from 36 people to 5,000. We've done all LinkedIn's global expansion work, so we took them from 3,000, 8,000 people. And we work with a lot of young companies here who, are just kind of finding their legs or, just looking to grow. So to the extent I can help any of you, I'm always happy to do so. I know Bill's been an incredible resource. Alice has been an incredible resource. I get emails a lot from people just, looking for help generally, which I love. Which kind of goes to show how we are focused on, people really, help people just be successful generally. I guess as it relates to, our group is, we've helped a lot of companies once they get to the U.S., not only on those 3 pillars, but, typically the first thing they think of is where should I put my team and why? And that usually involves, a market tour and an overview. Certainly benchmarking is a big thing. It relates to why would you go here and what are certain companies that are here versus there. Employee benchmarking and growth is from a competitive landscape perspective is a big thing. Talent acquisition and hiring is a big thing. So understanding where your labor comes in from, where it commutes in from, what the labor demand is, what the cost of salaries are, whether it be here locally or in other cities. So we have a team that exclusively focuses on that strategy piece of it. We call our insight team. The easy, I guess, always the easiest way to get into the market from a real estate perspective is co-working. I mean, co-working is a really easy avenue, and it allows you to really test the market, really understand, really get connected before you make that longer term commitment. So we've done a number of deals with co-working operators. It's been, instead of tracking down a short-term sublease, which is challenging and always comes with hair, it's like buying a used car. For us to be able to go over to, a co-working facility, and it's a 3-page license agreement, and we do it on a month-to-month basis. You pay a little bit for flexibility, but it's a great alternative for a lot of these companies. And then they get some more data, and then they can go and execute something a little bit longer term and a little bit bigger. But we typically like to have some data to support the overall business case before we go out and just lease space. So hopefully that was it. I tried not to take all. Did I take all 7 minutes there, Bill, or what?
You did well. 6 minutes, right on.
Well,
you were perfect. Awesome. Nice job. Thank you, Steele. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and Joan, do you want to give? You're going to do a partner profile or a spotlight. Do you want to go ahead and start with yours? Joan, your mic's off. There you go.
Okay, I have a few slides to back me up here. So do you want to share yours? How do I share let me share my screen with you all. Can you see my screen?
Bill, you're on mute now, by the way.
There you go. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would, Joan, just at the bottom of your screen, click on the share button.
Yeah.
And then click on the screen on the dialog box that opens up and hit the share.
The blue button, the blue share button?
Yes.
Yeah.
There, hey, you're coming up.
Okay, and I've got this ready to go.
Look at that. All right, I'm on mute again.
Okay, and I've got my 7-minute timer on. So just to introduce us a little bit deeper, we're a network of technology incubators in the New England region, and our incubators are focused in certain industry sectors to the life sciences, clean tech, robotics, advanced materials, and marine and maritime. And really, we're about economic development, we're about supporting entrepreneurs, and we're about strengthening technology clusters in our region. And it's just a few metrics is what I wanted to show you here. is that over the 7 years we've been in operation, we have supported, our incubator network has supported over 500 startup companies, which in total have created over 1,800 jobs from those startups. We are very happy to be able to supply interns through our local universities for these startup companies, and our companies have hosted over 420 interns throughout the years and have in total raised over 800 million in funding. Just to give you some just quick metrics there. This is what our geography looks like. We're a network of 16 incubators. Probably some of these are familiar to you. We're mostly in Massachusetts, but we extend from southern Maine into central Connecticut and a little bit into Rhode Island. Not only do we have introductions to incubators for our international companies that we're supporting, but beyond the incubators, we can provide them with access to any number of really high-level R&D facilities and research organizations that can help their companies grow as well, that are outside of the incubators. But what I really wanted to focus on was our program that we have for international startup companies through a federal grant, the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration, that received in 2018. And that's allowing us to create a number of activities to support international startups, attract them to the area, and introduce them to our incubator network as first good landing spots for them. Still low-cost office space, and in a built community of other startups with a strong incubator director that can make key contacts and collaborations for them on the ground here. So that's sort of the basis for the grant. We call it the Plymouth Rock Project for maybe obvious reasons, but we have a series of activities that we do within this grant activity. First of all, we have 5 webinars on topics of interest to international companies, right? So we have 5 a year that are recorded. They can view them anytime, and they are accessible through our website. We have created what we call a technology ecosystem asset map that maybe many of you might be interested in using. It's also free and available access from our website, where it's a built-in ArcGIS, and there's a number of layers. From the economic development side, it's where are all these technology assets that a company might be interested in here, and you can sort on different things and pull up where are the incubators, where are the R&D facilities, the contract research manufacturers, the hospitals with clinical teaching hospitals, and any number of things. We also have a layer for the transit system. Many of these companies that come over here, many of you may know, if they're not going to land in Boston or Cambridge based on maybe, financial concerns, they might want to be a little bit outside of Boston and Cambridge, but they always want to know, well, can I get there from here on transit? And how do I get to all these meetups that are happening in Cambridge if, I'm out in Beverly, so there are a number of things that you can add to this map and click on different layers to be able to get all that information. So it's in process. It's a 3-year process, but we have it up and working right now. We do offer incoming delegations sessions for them to explain what our incubator network is about and how that might be useful for any of the startups that are coming on that delegation or in future trips over here back and forth. We can take them to visit our incubators. We give them an overview of the programs that we have for startups. So it's sort of beyond the delegation, one step beyond that they could look at. In addition to that, we have a pre-landing program, which is a week-long cohort-focused program for groups of 3 to 6 international startup companies in one industry sector. So we may do one for medtech, we may do one for the blue economy, we may do one for clean tech, or any different number of options available that are able to be supported through our incubators. It's really a low-cost fee because we're subsidizing this highly through our grant funding. So we charge the startup companies $2,500 per startup for a week of in-depth activities, introducing them to the whole innovation ecosystem here. and that is with key industry experts talking about. We also like to arrange this around a conference that's highly relevant to what their interests are, so that they can have a chance to meet a lot of people when they're here that week. We do one-on-one meetings. We introduce them to potential collaborators, investors, corporates, whatever they're looking for. So it's an action-packed week, deep immersion for them. And then from that, we know that companies need to go back and forth for maybe a couple of years before they actually make a landing here. And we can offer them actual soft landing programs that are available in our incubators. That's why introducing them, taking them around to the incubators to get a feeling of what the community is like there, if it's a good fit for them with their technology and so on. And then they could actually, beyond our program, enter a soft landing program in one of the incubators for longer term relationship building. Just for an example of one that we did at the end of last year, it was a company from Spain called Aerox, and they have an advanced polymer coating material for very specific wind turbine blades. That was my 7 minutes. But anyway, we have them landed down on the south coast in our incubator in Fall River, because in this region, that's where a lot of the offshore wind is going to be happening, on the south coast of Massachusetts and in Rhode Island. So we introduced them to some key players there, and they, not now, but we'll be going back and forth when the world opens up again, landing in our incubator in Fall River, just as an example. So that's who we are.
Thank you, Joan. That was awesome. Really good job, and great to see all the work that you guys are doing. It's you're building lots of good bridges. So what I want to do next was kind of open things up, allow any sharing of needs and opportunities. We'll probably go for maybe 10 or 12 minutes, something like that. We have a couple of wrap-up items as well. But what needs or opportunities would anyone like to share? If you're speaking, you're on mute.
I had a quick question for Joan, actually. Since you have such a large network through, the services that you all currently offer, right, and the incubators that you work with, what happens with maybe Boston-based companies that are looking to go international? Do you also kind of help put them in contact with maybe some counterparts that you have across seas, or how does that interaction typically work?
Well, usually the incubators will be connected that way. You mean for any companies that are in the incubators here looking to expand their markets?
Yeah.
So the incubators have key connections that way. So we look to them for that. However, what we've recently done is joined an international organization called TIM, and it's based in Lund, Sweden. But it's a sort of a super cluster of life science and clean tech clusters around the world. So there's 10 of them. And all of those organizations, like ourselves, are looking to, they can support soft landings on their side, and they're looking to make soft landings for their companies on our side. So that's a nice conduit that we've opened up with a number of different organizations worldwide, pretty large, Hong Kong, Japan, Canada, Europe, Spain, Austria, can't name them all, Sweden. Actually have very large campuses. The way they do things over there is large science parks. So there's a lot of companies in those science parks that are eventually looking to US markets. So that's a good opportunity, incoming opportunity for us. You mentioned the outgoing too. Well, we make those relationships. We can also look at them as key points of contact on the ground there for our companies looking to expand outward.
Okay, great. What's that network called again?
It's called TIM, and it's Twins International Multi-Helix is what the TIM stands for. I kind of do things backwards in Europe, right? But if you were to look at multihelix.se and then go to their TIM drop down, you'll find out about that. based in Sweden.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Cool, excellent. What other needs, opportunities, questions are there?
Another question for Joan. Out of curiosity, do you get involved in actually helping your clients to develop go-to-market strategy and perhaps even pipeline development, or do you have partners to whom you outsource
We look
such
to
activities
partners.
if they're requested?
Yeah, that's why this network is such a good resource for me to build my partner network of people that can offer all kinds of, assistance to the companies that we bring in. Yeah, I mean, we have one strong partner that we work with who's very focused in medtech, long time medtech background. Now he's an angel investor, and he's really, really a good contact for our medtech companies that can come over here. We actually have one medtech company that, it's a molecular diagnostics company from Spain again, we're working with right now. So this is a need that I have. They're going to be looking for regulatory assistance, FDA regulation. So if there's anybody in our network that can offer that, I'd like to introduce them.
I can introduce you. That we do have somebody in the network, and I'm sure others on the phone know of folks. But Joan, I'm happy to connect you to Jackie Torcelli. She's been on several of the calls.
Okay, great. Yeah, because we're more of a connector than having all the knowledge ourselves.
Right.
But we do reach out to our incubator network in general. We work as a network, a sharing network. So I can put a question out to all of our incubator directors and say, hey, does anyone know of someone for this company that does this or that? So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Joan, I just wanted to, this is Alice Sloan, I wanted to add that if the company needs to be HIPAA compliant as well, that's a service that we provide, and we can talk them through what they need to do or think about in order to go through that process. In fact, I wanted to mention that we have a doing business in the US presentation that we make to groups of companies coming in, specifically usually missions coming through the consulates, where we talk to them about the tax landscape, once they've formed their company, what they need to consider, and if they're going to fundraise, what they're going to have to think about from an accounting and tax standpoint. And then if it is compliance, especially in the healthcare industry, we talk to them about risk management and all the related compliance activities. So it's more of like a guide, and we're willing to offer that to any groups of companies that you have, or anybody else has for that matter.
Yeah, that'd be very useful for us. We do have a lot of healthcare and companies coming from around the world that are going to look for this kind of information. Yeah. So
Good.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Other needs, opportunities that anyone has?
And still, it'd be useful for me to pass off to you, once all these companies and incubators are growing a little bigger and, need to flee the nest, right? They need bigger space and your service. We actually did used to work with somebody from Security Advisors many years ago. Lost that contact. She moved out of the country.
Yeah, we'd love to find ways to partner with you, and to the extent, we should have a separate conversation.
Yeah, as follow-on space for a lot of companies that are outgrowing their incubator space.
Yeah, and vice versa. If there's companies that are coming here, and one of your affiliated incubators can be a good match for our tenants, I think that'd be great. So absolutely, we should definitely follow up.
I'm hearing some coffee meetings getting scheduled. This is good. That's exactly the intent. Good stuff. What else? What other? Just not necessarily to change the topic if people want to continue down this road, but are there particular opportunities or things that would be important to share that are resources in the Boston market right now? And maybe Sarah, if there's anything you want to share related to COVID-19, the coronavirus, are there any resources that any of us should know about to be pointing our client companies to that would be helpful?
Yeah, you kind of read my mind. Thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
We are thinking COVID-19 all the time these days, whether we work in economic development or public health or any other department in City Hall. For this group, I think a lot of partners in the innovation community are trying to think of how we bring innovation to some of the solutions. So I've seen a lot of great collaborations and coalitions coming together. I know the MITRE Corporation, Mass Challenge, CIC is working on this. There's a lot of different entities, and I think a lot of different folks coalescing around different ideas of how we can bring solutions, not just vaccines, but digital solutions as well. The City of Boston just partnered with Vui Health, which is a Boston-based startup, to do kind of AI-based diagnostics, which kind of blows my mind for COVID-19. So if you are feeling the sniffles and you're worried, go on boston.gov and you can do a free diagnosis. But trying to think about how we utilize that innovation community here in the city to bring about real solutions for our community. It's so important. And I think everyone is focused on how they can transition to bring some of the work that they're already doing into this new world, into this brave new world. So we've seen a lot of kind of industry changing what they manufacture. We've seen digital health companies do some really great pivoting toward COVID-19. So that sort of work is really important to us, and the kind of professional services that allow these companies to grow, pivot, scale are just as important. So I think, you know, the flexibility of incubator space, the flexibility of, you know, having the right attorney or accountant help you figure that out is vital, because this is moving so fast. You know, we do press conferences almost every day now with the mayor, and we're tracking what the state is doing as well in Massachusetts, as well as at the federal level, of course. But right now we're just trying to get those important PPE supplies to our healthcare workers and our first responders. So the city has put out a few different ways that people can do that. There's a donation page for individuals or companies that want to donate money or donate supplies. But we're also trying to think about, again, how that innovation community can think up some really cool solutions to try to flatten the curve, as they say. But if people do have questions about any of the cities or the state's guidance on COVID-19, I can help make some sense out of that. I know it's a little bit confusing because there's new guidance coming out by the hour, it feels like.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Cool.
Sarah, I have something to follow up on that. Tomorrow, actually, I'm having a conference call with all of our incubator directors. For two things. Number one, providing them, you know, a list of resources that they can go to as small businesses, or their startups can go to as small businesses for COVID-19 relief, right?
Yes, brilliant.
But also to share resources, to share with each other how they're managing running their incubator in days like these when nobody can go in there. A lot of them are tech incubators with wet labs and experiments going on and things like that. So where some might have assets or resources that others can, freezers or whatever space others might need, so that they could share the resources within the network. Last week, I was on a really good Zoom call with the New York State Business Incubator Association. There were 100 people on the Zoom call, and it worked perfectly. And they were both the startup companies, the incubators, manufacturers, and there was a lot of cross conversation, well, through a chat, of how they can help each other. So what some of the startup companies are doing that might be able to relieve some of the COVID-19 issues that there are around there, and how manufacturers are saying, okay, we can open up lines for you to do this. It was a really good exchange of information. I'm so glad they had that, and I want to do something like that for our groups as well, with manufacturers, with other service providers that can help these small companies sort of get their products or their innovations to market quickly, cut through some red tape or whatever it might take, you know, to have them help with this problem.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I think there's a lot of resources coming out, as you say, for small businesses or certain types of startups at the federal, state, local level, nonprofits coming out with different grants and loan programs. It's a lot to figure out, but there are resources out there. We get those questions a lot because we know our small businesses were hit the hardest and will continue to be. But a lot of them are directed more toward like the brick and mortar family-owned, independent type businesses. There's less so that I've seen for startups. So I think they are going to be starting to hurt more and more as this continues. But that would be great if you can share some of the lessons you've learned from other folks there. One of the things I heard that I thought was really interesting when we were talking with some of our partners in Taiwan the other day was that they're seeing this as a business opportunity, not in sort of a cold calculating way, but in a realistic way. They call it the zero economy. So zero physical touching, social distancing, making of different PPE materials. So I think they're a bit ahead of the curve from what I've seen in the United States, at least. I'm sure there's other examples too. But trying to embrace that a little bit as seeing that as that pivot as an opportunity for our business community, I think is really important. We obviously want to help those affected, but if there's ways that we can help people pivot and innovate, we want to do that as well.
Perfect, cool. I'm going to take back the reins just for like 4 minutes, and then, and this actually worked really well in New York 2 weeks ago, was sort of after the sort of formal content was done, there was just sort of open discussion going on. So feel free to sort of, and some people will have a hard stop maybe at 5, but you know, feel free to hang out. There's no sort of limit to our time other than your schedule. So there were just a couple of things I want to mention before we hit the 5 o'clock hour. We do have a next meeting scheduled. It'll be on Eventbrite probably tomorrow. It's Monday, April 27th at the same time at 4 p.m. We'll have a sort of a similar format. As soon as we can, though, we'll shift to being in person again to sort of much more develop these in-person relationships. We really encourage you to invite your network to this in terms of other, whether trade professionals or service providers that you feel would be a good fit and could bring value and could get value. That would be great. I should mention, because it was actually Alice mentioned the fact that they do speaking, probably many of us do speaking in terms of supporting delegations and various entrepreneur development type platforms. And just so you all know, one of the things in our roadmap, we've got a few priorities first, but probably late summer, early fall, we'll actually begin developing a speakers bureau on the website. So for those that that do speak or look for speakers for their delegations and programs and so on, there'll be an easy resource on the site to be able to do that, besides the member profiles, which obviously are more focused on the services we all provide. The speakers bureau much more focused on the content that we provide. And just so we answer the question or anticipate the question, just so folks understand, we're an organization built essentially around 3 stakeholders. Certainly the market entry company is the center, and then each of us on the call sort of fits the other 2, which is either the trade professionals, which we consider partners, and then the service providers, which we consider members. Partners can come on the platform for free, and members, it's a whopping $100 a year for membership. And with that, you get an online profile, access to the member-only Slack channel, and free meetup participation. And the online or virtual meetups are free for the moment, but once we go in person, there'll be a small fee for non-members to participate. And we do encourage that folks kind of only come kind of once as a guest. We want people, and I think all of us want to be around people that are committed to the community. And certainly that's kind of an important feature, and certainly helps us be a bit sustainable, which obviously is important as well. So that, oh, the one other encouragement I'd have, and just as a, my only superpower, I think, as a human being is actually networking. So the one suggestion I would have for you all, and some of you also have networking as a superpower, but for those that it is not a sort of an automatic, the one thing that, certainly coming to an event is helpful from a networking standpoint, but really where networking happens is when we contact each other offline and set up times to talk. And right now, obviously, it'll be virtual conversations. Hopefully within 60 days or 45 days, we're able to do these things in person and and actually really break bread and talk more substantively. But my biggest encouragement for everybody on the phone, on the call today is, pick one or two people, reach out to them, and make sure that you, develop more of an understanding of what they do and who they're looking to connect to over the coming 30 days. There's no, from a standpoint of getting value out of this and the network sort of becoming valuable, that intimacy is hugely important, I think, both for us each individually, but also collectively. So the more we get to know a few people well, the network sort of value is massive as we do that. The Venn diagram circles sort of get really well overlapped, which is a nice thing. So that's what I have in terms of comments. We so appreciate everybody being a part of this, and we're really very much at the beginning of building this network, and each of you is an important part of it, and certainly comments and whatnot that you have are huge. But we're planning this year to have 20 meetups stood up around the world by the end of the year, and about 500 members is our target, and then we'll continue to build from there. But you're in early, as they say. So please hang out if there are folks you want to chat with or chat in general. Please do that, and I'll be quiet and allow conversation to happen. So please unmute if you like. Hop off when you need to, but certainly welcome any additional conversation.
Thank
Bill,
you.
I do have to jump, but I just want to say thank you. It was nice to virtually meet you all. Hopefully we will see each other again, and in the future, it will be in person.
Thanks, Jamie. Great to see you as well, and safe travels getting back.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I have to go too, unfortunately, but I really enjoyed this. Thank you, and thanks, Steele, for the shout out. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well.
Thanks, Alice.
Bye.
And Bill, you'll send a quick recap of the contact list of people who attended?
Yeah, so our policy is we'll certainly do a follow-up and with everybody, but we'll put and this will drive people out to Slack as well, which we want to get more use on Slack, because we're going to put the actual contact list on Slack. So we want to get more conversation out there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
My question is, how do you remember the person's name? Oh, there was someone on there that was focused on this, or
well,
how do I remember who that person was, kind of
Take
thing?
notes.
No, yeah, make notes.
Notes,
And we also send out a list
Well,
prior to.
I have some, but not all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't remember who you were trying to remember, so I wish I could help you there.
On the website, is there a search for certain with keywords?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's the way I need to.
Yeah, and if you have a question, just let me know. I'm happy to help you navigate. Yeah. Remember what you talked about. I have good notes as well. Other comments? Please feel free to chat about anything. Antonio, your mic's unmuted. What do you have to say?
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you for organizing this. I found it to be very useful in understanding a lot of resources that are available in the region. For the next time I'm able to bring somebody in, I think that there's some expertise that I didn't tap into on this last go around that I probably could have, and so it's nice to know that there's these resources here.
I think we're just scratching the surface. We'll have probably 30, 40, 50 people at the next meetup. So yeah, we're just getting started. But it was great to have you for sure. And you're out on the Cape today.
We've been down here for now. It's about 3 weeks. So yeah. So it's kind of raw out, but it was nice. I and you'll appreciate it. I did get out and do about two hours on the bike. So
excellent. Love the bike path there. Well, good to see you for sure.
Yep.
I'm going to get out and take a walk now too, just to get some air, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So important.
Even though it's a little bit raining, it's probably raw, but got to get out there.
It's
no
outdoors.
bad weather, there's just bad clothes, right? Go ahead, JP. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, I was just saying it's outdoors. I can certainly understand. I'm afraid I have a hard stop at 5:15 for another meeting, but would very much like to keep in touch. So I'll reach out once we have presume we have the contact information, I think, through these emails. I'll be in touch shortly. Thank you so much, everyone. Keep on playing.
Yep. Cheers.
Keep riding. Antonio, hasta pronto. Hablaremos.
Hasta pronto.
Cuando quieras.
Cuídate.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, I'm off as well. Pleasure meeting you all, and we will talk soon.
Good to see you, Geoffrey.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bill, for setting this up. This was great.
Oh, my pleasure, Sarah, and thank you for being a part of it. And certainly look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah, me as well. Looking forward to the next one.
Sounds good.
Great.
Thanks again, Bill.
All right, thanks everybody. We'll hang up now. Have a good afternoon, good evening.
Be well.
You too. Bye-bye.